Welcome to La Verdad Duele. What is that? The truth. The truth that hurts. Even though we're not intending to hurt anybody's feelings, we know that we may share information that many people have strong opinions on. This is solely based on the fact that we love sharing information and we love passing down knowledge. And this podcast is all about that. And we hope you can enjoy that. Let's get to it. Welcome, Puyaka Puyaka. I'm your host, Tijani Musa, and today's episode, I'm bringing two of my mentees to talk about their journey from high school to college. And also, we are going to discuss what it means to be a mentee as well as being a mentor and how you establish that relationship and some of the things that you do to maintain the relationship over time. And so this is my first time recording with two guests. And so I'm going to introduce the first guest. The first guest is Nafisa Gailey. Nafisa, I met her in 2015 when she was a sophomore or a junior in high school. And when I met her, I had just started my job from college, and I had to go talk with her parent to allow me to take her to a project for youth development project. And that was my first meeting with her. And then I met her friend, Tanya Njurage, who was also in the same grade when I met her in high school as well. And I met her when I was working at that job at the community center there in Fairfax. And so, Nafisa, welcome to La Verdad Duele.
Puyaka, puyaka.
Okay. And Tanya Njurage, welcome to La Verdad Duele.
Puyaka, puyaka.
All right. So this is going to be a contest of who can maintain the best voice. Actually, no, we're not doing any voice, but just, be yourself, okay? All right, before we get started, I'm going to ask you this question. Tanya, you are an only child, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. What is the journey like trying to get to college? What is it like being an only child? Who do you look up to help you shape that journey to college?
I am an only child, but I did grow up with a lot of cousins surrounding me, and they did go through they went through the American system too. So they were able to show me what to do for, college, the application and stuff. They are kind of older than me. So some of the things they told me were kind of outdated. So if it wasn't for them, Tijani, you also helped me, or my friends would help me too. So I just got support all around.
Awesome. And Nafisa, you grow up, you have an older brother. What was your journey like?
Having my brother definitely helped because he went through the process just a couple years before me. So he knew a lot of the things that my parents definitely didn't understand being immigrants. So it was nice following in his footsteps, although we did go to completely different schools. So some things were different and some things were outdated because he was a couple years older. But it definitely helped following in his footsteps and having him already navigating the field.
Okay. And Tanya, how was it when you were in high school? How did you figure out that this is the time for me to go to college and these are some of the things that I needed to do to get to college? Did you think about scholarships and all that?
Well, as you know, Tijani, my senior year, I went through, the eat, pray, love phase. I didn't really want to go to school. I kind of wanted to just travel first and experience the world, see the world, and then come back and study. So at the beginning, I wasn't really looking at scholarships or any of that. Afterwards, I got out of my eat, pray, love phase. I guess I got more into what school do I want to go to, what college, what scholarship should I apply and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk more about that eat, pray, love. I remember when you mentioned that you wanted to eat, pray, love, and I was like, what is that? What is eat, pray, love? And I'm guessing you were thinking that you were going to take some gap years or a year or two to try to figure out your eat, pray, love. What do you think eat, pray, love was? And I remember that I had to ask you to write me a summary or a paragraph explaining what eat, pray, love was. And for me to gauge if you were really ready to take a gap year, what did you think that Eat, Pray, Love was?
Well, okay, so Eat, Pray, Love is a book and a movie. It's about this girl who she just went through a divorce and stuff, so she decided to take all her savings and just travel to like three main countries like Italy, India, I forgot the other one. But she like tries to find herself, and throughout the movie, she like learns the culture and like she learns the language, and she just like truly finds herself and what she wants to do with her life. So I felt like that is something I was like able to do. Like maybe if I go on this like trip, I'll be able to find out, okay, what do I truly want to do? Like
Okay.
in
And
life.
then I remember that when you wrote me that paragraph, I read the paragraph. I was like, this is not strong enough. And then I came back to you. I said, Tanya, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you are not ready to eat, pray, and love. That's not, I'm not saying, obviously, you can eat, pray, love where you're sitting right now. You don't have to travel abroad to waste money to eat and pray and then love when you could do it here.
Yeah, that is true, and that's like another reason why I was like, maybe I'm not ready. I can go to college first, and then when I'm like graduated, I can always travel because traveling will always be there, you know.
That's right. And Nafisa, for you, what were some of the scholarships that you were thinking about applying to just so that you are in a position to be able to afford college?
I remember our high school had like a specific website with just a bunch of lists of scholarships, and you can like put in some keywords or like just some random traits that you have or things about you, and they'll pull up like a million scholarships. I don't remember exactly which ones I applied for, but there was a bunch off of that website that I used, and then some through like more specific things I also don't remember exactly.
Okay. And that is very good. It's definitely a good place to start with scholarship is your high school. I know that I went to a high school in Fairfax County, and the first place that I looked at when I was applying for ships was asking the career service lady about the scholarships that she was receiving from the outside. And so that's how I started. And then also just Googling any type of scholarship also can produce some results for you. You can simply just type in scholarship for seniors, high school seniors, and you can have a bunch of results, and then you just take it from there. And so that is very good. Good. All right. So let's talk about you from being under the responsibility of your parents to now transitioning to college. How was it? How was the adjustment? What did you make of leaving your parents and now having to go to a college because you decided to go to VCU, which is technically you were living, not technically, you are actually living on campus. And so leaving your parents' nest, being taken care of at home, and now all of a sudden you have to be independent and you have to take care of yourself. Nafisa, how was that?
Well, coming from immigrant parents who don't let you do anything at all, it was definitely weird transitioning to college because now I didn't have to ask before I do anything. I didn't have to tell anyone what my day consisted of. So it definitely took a while to adjust because, like, if I want to go get food, like, I can just go get food. Like, I don't have to notify anybody. It was just small things that were weird. But then it was definitely a transition financially because I had to start looking for like part-time jobs because my parents couldn't fully afford to like send me to school and pay for everything that I would need while being alone. So it's definitely a risk financially to go away, but I definitely learned a lot from it because I was able to get a part-time job. I now live in an apartment, so I have to pay my own rent and pay my own bills. So it taught me a lot about being independent, and I still have a long way to go.
Wow. So you're telling me as a freshman going into college, you had to figure out how to be able to afford to pay for your own rent, your room and board, and also go into class and do well?
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. And what is the secret of doing those two things, balancing school and also balancing work and knowing that you have to be able to work to continue to go to school, but you also have to do well in class so that you can stay in the school? What do you think is the secret that helps you develop that skill?
I don't think it's necessarily a secret. It's just mastering like time management. Because now all of a sudden you have a lot more on your plate, and it's not like you have the option. Like I worked in high school, but I had the option of like not going to work. But now I don't have the option of not going to work. I have to go because I have to feed myself and house myself. So it's just mastering time management. I know there's times where I take my backpack to work and like during dull times or like if it was slow, I just pull out my stuff and start working. But my boss was a little bit more lenient. I know other people can't really do that because of where they work. So it's just finding little ways, or like I'd work right before, I'd go to the library right before work, or like I'd rush home to finish an assignment before midnight. It's just a lot of fitting things in.
Mastering time management skill. That is a very important skill as a college student, also a student in your position. Now to Tanya, how was your transition from living at home to living on campus?
I'd say my transition, just like Nafisa's, is pretty much the same. I also got a job, but we don't work together just to like help support my mom to pay. It was kind of hard leaving, because I've always lived with my mom and then coming to school and just figuring out how to be able to live by yourself. It's just like the small things, like if I don't have, I'm very unorganized and like my mom kind of helped me be organized. So when I went to school, I had to be able to organize myself because I knew that if I did not become organized, I'd probably fail or I wouldn't be able to do anything. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely organization is another thing, is another skill that is very, very useful and very important in surviving surviving college, and as well as for the both of you that are also working and also trying to maintain a good standing in college. All right, let's switch to how do you select a roommate? The both of you are rooming together. When did you decide that it was a good idea to room together? Because you were friends before going to college and you decided that you wanted to room together. How did you decide that, and what were some of the conversations like to decide that you wanted to room together, Nafisa?
I don't think we ever like actually sat down and were like, hey, let's be roommates. I think it was after we decided that we were going to the same school, it was kind of just like a given that we would room together. The conversations we did have though were like, would this be a good idea? Like, could this be the end of our friendship? Because everybody tells you not to room with your friends. But I think for us, we're the most comfortable around each other. So like, I couldn't picture myself living with a stranger. Like if I knew Tanya was going to be in the same building as me, I was going to go live with Tanya because that's where I'd be comfortable. And it was definitely a challenge at first, and it tested our friendship in so many ways. But we've come out strong, which a lot of people don't.
And for you, Tanya, what were some of the challenges that Nafisa was talking about as roommates?
Well, one of the challenges I would say, like, a lot of people told us, like she said, a lot of people told us not to live together because they say it always ends friendships. And I've seen it. We've both seen it. But I think was the way how different we are. Nafisa's very neat. And like I said, I'm unorganized. So that's another reason why I had to get organized, because I'm not going to try and put all my stuff in her space because that's kind of disrespectful. So I had to, we had to talk about, okay, what can we do? What can't we do? And then but after we've already moved in.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
It does. So when I was in middle school, I had two guy friends. And so we decided that we wanted to room together when we get to college. And we actually did that. And it's the same thing. People tell you rooming with your friends is not a good idea because you're going to find out things about them. They're going to find out things about you that could potentially damage your relationship. But for me and my guy friends, we had good rapport that we have built. We've built a really strong relationship throughout the years. And so when we got to college, we knew that having house rules in place would help us maintain our relationship. And so one of the rules that we had were all three of us were popular and we had friends. And so whenever we have friends visiting us, we tell ourselves, these were rules that we only are the ones that knew about them. On a weekday, by 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m., it doesn't matter who your friend is. It could be your girlfriend, boyfriend. They have to leave. They have to leave by 9:30, 10 p.m. because that's when we start studying or that's when we wrap up to go to bed. And so do you have any house rules that you set in place to help maintain that kind of a peaceful environment, drama free, Nafisa?
I think our main house rule was just if we're going to be bringing, because it was our freshman year, we shared a very small dorm, so there's nowhere for us to really escape to. So I think our main rule was just if you're going to bring more than like two people over, you have to like text ahead of time, and just like small like housekeeping things. Otherwise, it didn't always work out like as planned, but it did help that we like were firm, especially about the guest rule because it was a small space.
Okay, that is very, very good. All right, so let's switch into now. The both of you are living on campus. This is your third year coming up.
Yeah.
Awesome, that is very good. So you're a junior now. So now you have mastered what it is to be a college student, and so you know exactly what to expect. And so a lot of the things that after you pay your tuition and fees and everything like that, you have access to many, many things on campus. What are some of the things that you have access to that each of you are taking advantage of? Tanya, and we talk about, working out, going to the gym, all those kind of things, clubs. What are some of the things that you have taken advantage of, Tanya?
I would definitely say the gym. Our gym has these like classes they do every day. So if they have like yoga, hit classes, cycling, swimming. So I'm definitely like doing like at least three a week because it's like a great way to make friends. First of all, it's a way to stay healthy and also they're fun too. I'd also say,
Let's see. Let's see if Nafisa can help you. Nafisa, help her out.
yeah.
I think the main thing that I would utilize other than like the gym and just like fun things that we can do around campus, they had the campus learning center which helped with tutoring. So
Oh
any class that I was like struggling in, I'd go there. You can do one-on-one tutoring, you can do group tutoring. So that was very useful because they're there all day, every day, even on weekends.
Okay. And you know that, coming from high school, a lot of kids are like, man, where the nightlife at? Where the parties at? But how do you make sure that you're having fun, but also understanding the reason why you're there, which is being a student? How do you maintain party life or like nightlife and also understanding you're a student and maintaining a good standing, Nafisa?
So freshman year, we didn't really go out much ever because we just didn't have friends. So we didn't really go out. But as we like got more into the college life, we realized that people party every day of the week, and you kind of got to stop yourself from going to a party on like a Wednesday night. So people don't really have boundaries of when they party. So you just got to consciously make that decision, like, oh, like Monday to Thursday, we're just gonna like stay home at night, or like pull an all nighter in the library or something. Where else, like you see people like going to parties on Thursdays, on Mondays. But we just had to like strictly be like, okay, Friday, Saturday we can go out, and then Sunday was always a homework day, like no question about it. We wake up in the morning and just do all our work on Sunday.
That is one of when you talked about having a good management skill and then also being organized. That is one of the good example of that. Just knowing that, hey, I'm here to go to school. I'm not here to party all the time because that would put you in a very bad situation. And so that's very good. It's very smart of the two of you to recognize those things earlier on, because earlier on is when most college students struggle to try to maintain, because they are coming from home, living on campus. There's something called homesickness and missing your family and all that stuff. So it comes with a lot of stress. That reminds me, let's talk about stress. Were there any type of stress within this transition from being a high school student to being a college student? Nafisa, what were some of the stresses that you had to overcome?
Oh, there were so many stresses. We went to a high school that wasn't one of the most strict high schools, so you can get by doing like pretty much the bare minimum. So when we got to college and we were hit with like this crazy workload and like professors that did not budge, like you could not ask for an extension, you could not turn in anything late. So it was just a very hard transition, and that was like stressful at times because we weren't used to such a fast paced workload, because we were just used to, kind of making it through in high school by doing, we can turn in an essay like a week late and we still get full credit. Or you definitely cannot get away with that in college. So we had to like just discipline ourselves and like realize that, okay, we really need to do this work to like get this education, get our money's worth, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. In high school, yeah, the teachers are very kind. Some of them babysit you. They will come, be like, hey, Nafisa, you still haven't turned in your homework, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'll give you this extra time to do that. But in college, they don't do that because they give you a contract, which is the syllabi. Once you have that syllabus, you have everything that you need in that syllabus. And so if you decide not to turn in your assignment, that is a decision you're making on your own.
Yeah, I didn't think they were that serious about syllabi, which was also a very interesting realization is that they stick to that word by word.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the professors are very serious about that. And for you, Tanya, what were some of the stresses that you had to overcome?
Definitely the same thing as Nafisa because I know in college I was not the most organized, like I said, very unorganized. So I definitely got an agenda when I got to school so I can like write down everything and keep myself on track of things. And sometimes I'd actually write it like 2 days before it's due because I know myself and I'll definitely keep everything to the last minute. So if I write it 2 days before it's due, I'll probably forget the like actual due date. So I get it done before. And
That
so yeah.
that that's smart. That's smart. I like it. And college is not easy, and so being organized, having a good time management skill is very important. So let's switch to being a mentor. Nafisa, when we first met, what was your impression of me?
The first time I met you, I got in a car with you, so that was not a very good first impression. But I did realize that you had a lot more energy than anybody I've ever been around. So it was different for sure.
Yeah, because definitely I had to go talk to your parent and be like, hey, I need to take your daughter to some training for a whole week.
Yeah, they thought you were crazy.
Yeah, I thought I was crazy too. I didn't actually think that they would allow it, and but I guess I had a good first impression, and I was very presentable and kind and understand. I think they knew what the importance was. How did you like that 1 week that you were there?
That week was honestly the first time I had been away from Northern Virginia in general for that long. And it was with just like a group of friends and you, which I didn't quite know you at the time. But I didn't think it would be as beneficial as it was. We learned a lot through like different workshops, through just like we had to get up really early in the morning. We had a schedule. So it was kind of like, it was like a little glimpse into what we would be doing in the future with an actual schedule, except this time we were heavily babysat throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. And for you, Tanya, we met through Nafisa. What was your impression of me?
Well, my only impression, well, Nafisa didn't really like you, so she, I had to see what she kept on talking about. I remember, but I thought you weren't that bad.
That's good. So Nafisa introduced you to me, and she didn't like me.
Yeah, I had a petition to get you fired.
Wow. So that was real.
Yeah, that was real. I had it written down.
I remember she asked me to sign it, and I said no because I thought you weren't that bad. So,
Johnny, I asked you to sign it too.
Yeah, I think I remember that. So you brought a petition to get me fired, and you asked me to sign it.
Yeah.
That's how I knew it wasn't serious. I'm signing my own life away. Like, hey, I'm signing this petition to get me fired.
My petition was never going to go anywhere. I didn't have any contacts.
Right. It was fun. At least you learned how to write a petition, right?
Exactly.
There you go. All right. So we met, and then Tanya also came into the picture, and I would see her more often. She would come to the community center to do her homework, and I would invite people to help her with her psychology homework that she had. And I also think was it chemistry, Tanya?
not the chemistry. Was it statistics?
Oh yeah, statistics. So you needed extra help on that, and so I had
Yes.
some of my volunteers to come in and help you. And so over time, me and you developed stronger relationship, just mentor-mentee relationship, and then because I see you more often than I saw Nafisa. And so, how did we establish that mentor-mentee relationship, Nafisa?
I think for me, I remember distinctly like the first time I realized like this was a legit person who can help me was I remember you used to keep me like you would pull me aside or whatever and you just start telling me stories like without me asking, without me initiating anything. You just start telling me stories about like your high school days and everything you did and how popular you were. And at the time, I didn't really care to hear. I was like, okay, wow, you were cool. But now I realize that like I slowly started adapting everything you said, and I started looking for clubs, and I started doing all these things, and I'm like, wow, Tajani really had an influence during those miserable talks that we would have.
Yeah, so my goal is always to learn something and pass it on, and so that's what I've been able to do over the years, and so that's how I've been able to uh, engage with young people. And for you, Tanya, what were some of the things that you think were helpful to maintain that relationship?
Well, I'd definitely say we kept on bothering you. So you had to like listen to us. And um, then you'd stay after longer just to like listen to us even more. And then you'd give us advice on Johnny Tuesdays. And then you always showed how much you like cared for us and like whatever we needed, you like help. You find me my tutors for all my classes. So yeah.
Very good. Yeah, definitely. We have that Tijani Tuesday, which was me staying extra after work to just listen to y'all, and then I'll share some of my life experiences, and you would listen to me, and then I'll also listen to you. And so over time, we just think that it was very useful to have that person that you look up to, but at the same time, also you can confine on, you can tell them some of your personal things to help you, walk through them. And sometimes you just need somebody to listen to. And so for you, Nafisa, even though I met you first, we didn't have that stronger relationship because I didn't see you compared to when I used to see Tanya coming in every day at the community center to get the help. When did you decide that it was a good idea to keep coming and listen to my lectures?
I think it was when I started realizing that I'm actually like it's not just it's going in one ear and out the other. Like I actually listen to everything you say. Someone else can tell me the exact same thing and I would brush it off. But when you say it, for some reason it stuck with me. So especially as I got older and I started like trying to apply to colleges or like prepare for the SAT, I realized that if I actually go and like ask you for help, which was something I wasn't used to doing, I wasn't used to going up to someone and be like, hey, can you help me with this? When I got comfortable with doing that, I realized that this could be very beneficial, and it was because you listened to every word I said and you met everything I asked for.
Yes, definitely very, very important to listen. It's a good skill to have both as a mentee and as a mentor. And so when I met y'all, my impression of the both of you is just that I know that you have what it takes to become amazing people in life. And so I was like, there isn't anything, if there's anything that I can do to nurture that, is if there's anything that I can do to contribute to your success is my goal. And so whatever I was able to learn and pass it on was my goal to be able to do that because I know that you have the potential to be great and you're still very young and the world is still wide open for you to become successful and to engage in amazing things in the future. And so it would have been selfish of me to have some information and keeping it to myself. And so that's why I was able to share that information with you. And I think that that is some of the things that I have done over the years that has kept our relationship going, the both of you. For you, Tanya, what were some of the things that you think you have done to maintain that relationship of the three of us?
Definitely talking, like texting or our FaceTime whenever you need like a talk. Yeah.
And Nafisa?
I think definitely while we were away in college, just communicating. I know with the whole time management thing and us working and having school, we definitely tried to make time for like, it wasn't Tajani Tuesdays anymore. It was Tajani, whenever we were free. And sometimes we would remember at like 1 a.m. in the morning and realize we can't call you. So we just like put it on the plan for the next day. So it was just keeping in contact while we were still away. And you definitely helped by texting us regularly throughout the semester.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing to do that. And so that was some of the things. So back to you, Nafisa. What were some of the qualities, some of the things that you think that a mentor should possess for you to trust that mentor?
I think if you're gonna like for people who want to mentor, especially like high school kids, like the age we were when we first started, you definitely have to realize that they how do I phrase? You have to realize that they don't always want your help, but they need your help. So I think that's definitely something you realize because even when we didn't want to listen, you made us listen, which is something we definitely needed because everybody else just kind of let us fly by. We're just teenagers. We're just like, we're never going to learn. But you made sure that like whatever you said, you drilled it into our heads. You would like text us a million times a day saying the same thing that you said in person because you knew we weren't actually paying attention, but we needed to hear what you were saying. So I think just patience and yeah.
Wow, that is very important. As a high school student, you don't think that you want the help, but you actually need the help. That is very, very important. And Tanya, what were some of those things?
Someone who definitely listens, because a good mentor, like a mentor, can always like sort of listen to you and then like give you advice on what they think would be good. But also, I feel like a good mentor tells you advice what they think should be good for you, not for like them. So they should truly listen to you and then give you like helpful advice that actually help you.
Okay, that
Yeah.
is very good. That is very good. I like the things that you have talked about. So, from my point of view, a mentee becomes a good mentee when they decided that, hey, I can't do this by myself. When I need help, knowing when to ask for help and knowing how to ask for help. The both of you mastered both of those. When you know that you needed a recommendation from high school to college, you know when to ask and you know how to ask. When you know that you needed some kind of help in life, you know when to ask and how to ask of it. Do you agree with me? Having that kind of a skill is also very important as a mentee, Nafisa.
Yeah, I think that's something I didn't know before, but I remember the first time I asked you for a recommendation letter, I texted you and you were not happy about that at all. So that definitely stuck with me. Like to this day, if I ever need anything professional from someone, I sent a nice, thorough email, making sure they know exactly what I need, why I need it, and when I need it. So that's definitely like the first skill that I learned from you, and I still carry it on to this day, and I will always use that because I remember how traumatized that was by how mad you were.
It's very important because it's one thing to have a personal relationship, but at the same time also maintaining professionalism. So so you have to understand the difference between the two. We have a mentor mentee relationship, that is true, but when you're asking for something that is personal, I mean, when you're asking for something that is professional, then you have to code switch and you have to ask it in a professional way. So knowing when to talk and not to talk, knowing how to talk and when to talk is very important. So that is an aspect of code switching, knowing how to do it in a given time and space. And so, because we're about to round up this podcast, we wanted to keep it very simple and to the point. Being a college student, preparing from high school to being a college student, and then also establishing a mentor and also maintaining mentor-mentee relationship. Nafisa, do you have any advice for young people that are coming up on how to seek mentors and what are some of the things that they look for?
I think if you're looking for a mentor, definitely find someone that you know is because you most likely already have friends and you have family, but you need someone in the middle, someone who's going to be real with you, but also, actually listen to the deeper stuff that you don't talk to everyone about. So I think you definitely need to find someone in the middle and just learn that at the end of the day, they're not doing this because they get paid. They're not doing this for their own benefit. They're doing it for you. So just accept that and like let yourself get the help that you need.
Yeah, and for you, Tanya, it's very important as a mentee to also know that once you establish that relationship, you have to be able to have that good trust. How do you know when to trust that mentor and what to tell them and what not to tell them?
Well, for me, I'd say it's like very hard to trust people. So for me to like trust someone, I'd say like you have to know that they truly care about you. Like if they're asking you questions or they see like something's wrong or they truly care for your well-being, then I'd say like and they give you advice to help you. I'd say like they'd be like a really good mentor for you.
And you yourself, from last time when I had a conversation with you, Tanya, you were talking about you are currently mentoring some kids. What are some of the things that you tell them?
Well, whenever they need help, they'll text me, and I'll definitely like listen to them and like because these are incoming freshmen. So I give them like out of what I've learned from my freshman year, I'll tell them some things that I've learned and like try to help them with whatever needs they need, and hopefully it'll help them.
That is
Um,
very that is very good. You get the information and you pass it on. So that is the idea. And so we're coming to an end of this podcast episode. I have asked each of you to draft a letter to a younger self. What are some of the things that you would tell that younger self as they grow up? What are some of the advice or some of the things that you is basically a reflective letter, writing a letter to a younger self? So we're gonna go ahead and bring out those letters. And so I'm gonna pick who goes first. Nafisa, you're up. What are some of the things that you have written to the younger Nafisa?
Dear young Nafisa, you have always been a dreamer, looking far and deep into the future. You had the picture perfect life planned out, and that planning taught you some of the most valuable lessons. Growing up, you will be young but bear responsibilities beyond your age. Your parents will work a combined 3 to 4 jobs to keep you healthy and stable, and your only brother will leave for college when you are still very young. You will have 3 new beautiful nieces and nephews, and you will soon become the one they look up to the most. No pressure. You will face challenges being the only child of darker skin in an all-white elementary school, and you will bear the consequences for years to come. You will experience your first loss at the age of 13. It will shake you to your core and change your attitude on life forever. She was a dreamer, just like you. You planned your whole future with her, and instead prepared yourself to live it out alone. But you will make a new friend. No, not one to replace your loss, but one that will bring the craziest of crazy into your life. Embrace it. One day it will be all you ever know. You will doubt yourself in every step of your journey, and high school will seem like the end of your road. But with the blessed guidance of your mentor, college will be more attainable than you ever imagined. It will also be harder than you could have ever imagined. You will go through some traumatizing experiences that you never speak of, and you will face challenge after challenge. You will lose yourself, your path, and your hope. But with the grace of Allah, you will be guided back to peace. You have a long way to go, but I believe in you. College will not be what you planned for, but it will be everything you need to build your indescribable strength. The biggest lesson you have learned so far is that life doesn't follow a script. None of your plans have played out how you thought they would. They played out how they were meant to. Your future has always been as bright and magical as you dream it to be. It just won't be handed to you in one piece. No matter what you do, never stop putting the pieces together. One step at a time, you will form the most beautiful life for yourself. Real, raw, and unique. I'm proud of you today and every day. Congratulations on making it this far.
Wow. That is amazing. I heard you are a dreamer. Picture perfect. Responsibility. Your brother leaves for college when you were young. First loss at the age of 13. Prepare. Make new friends. College attainable. College was hard. Lose yourself. Long way to go. Believe in yourself. Amazing letter. Thank you for writing that. And so now we are going to switch to Tanya.
Whew. Okay. What's up, young T? Let me get you hip to what your future holds. At the beginning stage of your life, you live in happiness. You'll grow up in a nice house thinking it's yours and your mom's, getting whatever you want and not worrying about anything. You'll think your life was perfect. But in reality, you wouldn't know. You and your mom are living in your grandparents' house, renting a room, and your mom working over 40 hours a week to make giving you everything happen. The second part of your life, you will be filled with confusion and anger. You'll be 5 years old when your mother ships you off to Kenya, or that's what you thought, or that's how you saw it. You will be left with strangers and feel like your fam back home in the US didn't care for you. You will be filled with anger and not listen to anyone. You'll have hardship in Kenya and will feel like you have no one by your side. You will go to what will seem like awful school and literally be the worst in the class. But as time goes on, you will learn to appreciate and understand why it was the right move to go to Kenya. You will learn the language and appreciate the culture. You will leave 6 years later and with a new love, and you will always carry a part of your country with you. Your return to the US will be harder than you thought. You'll not be close to the people who you thought would be inseparable. You'll have to relearn the new norms. You will have to make new friends and be alone most of the time. Going to school will be a new adjustment and you'll fall behind, but you will find people along the way to help you. Your relationship with your mother will be strained, but as time goes on, it'll get easier. You'll move on to middle school and high school and what you thought would be the greatest years to come. As time goes on, the harder things will get. Not attending school will be the new norm and you'll fall into a bad crowd. The only people you've ever trusted was moving across the country and you'll start to feel alone again. But you will meet people that will bring you out of this funk. and will be able to help you rise. They will help you become a better you, and you will not notice till later. You will go through an eat, pray, love phase and not want to go to college. Not because you didn't want to, but it's because you felt like you wouldn't get in. But you got into your dream schools and became the first person in your family to go to college. You will show your family that you are your own person and will be able to and will always be you. You will have your ups and downs in college, but you will always have the support of your people. You will hurt and you will cry in secret, but no matter what, you will always know that everything will be okay. You will be proud of what life has come because without the ups and downs, you wouldn't be who you are today. You're loved and you're special. You'll accomplish a lot and will fail, but those fails will help you in the future. Just remember to be true to yourself and everything will be okay from your future self.
That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I heard live in happiness. Think life was perfect. Mother worked 40 hours per week, get sent to Kenya, learn new language, appreciate culture, learn new norms, relationship with mother, eat, pray, love phase, hurt and cry, ups and downs. You're special and you're loved. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Tanya. I love the letters from Nafisa, and I love the letter from Tanya. Thank you so much. I appreciate the both of you for coming in to share with us and share with the fans of La Verdad Duele about your experiences transitioning from high school to college and what it is that you're doing to maintain a good standing in college. So if anybody wants to follow you, Nafisa, what would be your IG that they can follow you on?
Follow me on IG, Mufasa1434. Yeah.
Okay, that is Mufasa1434. And for you, Tanya?
You can follow me at Instagram at Tanya_Njoroge.
All right, that is Tanya_Njoroge. Her name would be in the description of the podcast. Thank you so much for the both of you. Nafisa, thank you.
Thank you to Johnny for having us.
And thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, T, for having us.
There you have it, everybody. If you're listening to this still, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening through and through. Make sure if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button so you can get this automatically downloaded the next time new episodes come out. We have a lot more experiences and stories to tell, and I cannot wait to share them with you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Reviews are always appreciated. Thank you. I appreciate you, and let me know what you think on our Instagram at La Verdad Duele Pod. Our team is here to serve you. We look forward to hearing about your successes, and maybe one day we may invite you to the studio to share. We wish you luck. The La Verdad Duele family has your back. Thank you so much.